This episode of the Beauty Industry Podcast was brought to you by Forest Salon Software. Join 6,000 plus happy salons using Forest to increase bookings and revenue today. Hello and welcome to the Beauty Industry Podcast, your online support community for the professional beauty industry. I am your host, founding director of Beauty Industry, Tamara Reid. Here we are closing the competitive gap and speaking your language. This is a platform created and dedicated to the professional beauty industry, valuing community over competition. We serve to help connect you with inspiration from industry experts, expand your knowledge through educational pieces, and bring you the latest in product and technology innovation. This is Beauty Industry. Today I am sitting down with Dr. Clara Hurst, cosmetic injector and owner of Blanc Skin Clinic and The Secret Skincare. Dr. Clara Hurst graduated as a dentist from King's Cross London Medical and Dental School in 2005. Her interest in cosmetic procedures and facial aesthetics led to further training and study within the field of facial rejuvenation and cosmetic enhancement procedures, including training and working as a cosmetic injector at the world-renowned Harley Street in London. Clara has 15 years hands-on experience in anti-wrinkle and facial sculpting treatments and prides herself on achieving natural results for her patients and believes that in most cases a conservative treatment approach is the best way to achieve her signature, untouched and refreshed look. A mum, business owner, doctor, and now skincare formulator, Dr. Clara is also a trainer and educator for Dermamedical Australia and trains doctors, dentists, and nurses in the latest non-surgical cosmetic enhancement techniques. Clara shares with us her story on moving to Australia and opening up a clinic and continuing to run a clientele from across the other side of the world. The impossible juggling act of being the perfect woman society thinks that we should project, and why her clients and team come first. From Blanc Skin Clinic, today we welcome Dr. Clara Hurst. Welcome to the podcast, Dr. Clara Hurst.
Hi, thank you for having me. It's a pleasure being here.
Oh, thank you so much. The pleasure is all mine. Dr. Clara, we start our episodes with the same question every single week. How did you enter into the professional beauty industry?
Okay, so it was a slightly unusual path for me. I always had an interest in the beauty industry from a young age. However, I wanted to do a more medical degree. So I trained as a dentist initially, kind of knowing that the path I wanted to take was going to be into facial aesthetics, injectables, etc. So yeah, I did my dental degree, which was 7 years by the time I did my vocational training, and then started straight away training towards getting my injectables qualifications, performing the wrinkle relaxers and dermal fillers and so on, which back then, 15 years ago, was a little bit more limited than it is now. And then that kind of grew and developed, and as part of that, over the years, of course, then you take an interest more into skincare and how that affects aging and how that plays a really vital role in how successful your injectable treatments are going to be. And so working in clinics as well, I got that side of things. So that's how I sort of came into it.
Wow. Okay. So dentistry for 7 years before we moved into beauty. Did you learn anything in dentistry that you still apply to business now?
Looking after patients and considering people as a patient. You are there to take care of them. It's not so much the treatments that we do at my clinic. They're not the kind of fluffy facials and massage and so on. They're more dermal therapy treatments. I don't perform those. Obviously, I've got dermal therapists who are qualified to do that. But to treat everybody quite seriously, you're going through a serious procedure, whatever it is, and we have goals that we want to achieve. And it's not just to take your money and waste an hour of your time. It's really to get you to where you want to be. So really to consider people's background as well and medical history and take everything into account. And like I said, really taking care of patients for the long term as well.
Mm. Yeah, very interesting. I love that. How funny that you spent 7 years in that career and then come out the other side and went into facial aesthetics, because dentistry is so much of the face, and I think we don't realize that the mouth is such a large area, and I guess you've been staring at that for such a long period of time that it's quite natural that you want to work on the rest of the face.
Yeah, so in the UK where I train at King's College, we do a Bachelor of Dental Surgery. So you're actually doing head and neck. Well, you do medicine for the first 2 years with the medics, and then you sort of branch off and do head and neck. And head and neck was the area that I always knew I wanted to concentrate on. So for me, it was the most direct path into it. And actually in the UK, the majority of people who do facial aesthetics, injectables, treatments are dentists. That is the natural pathway there. It's a little bit more unusual here in Australia, but over in the UK, that is more or less the norm.
Yeah, fantastic. And so tell me about Inject and Skin and facials over in the UK. I mean, how did you enjoy your time there, and why the move over to our Aussie land?
Well, I'm from Spain, and I moved to the UK when I was 14 years old. I didn't speak any English, and I moved without my parents. So I moved on my own. I lived with a host family, went to a normal school, didn't speak any English, and just had to really crack on. And that's why I wasn't scared when I then had to move to Australia many years later. I don't mind it. I quite like it. New adventure, new experience, kind of a new world. I had lived here briefly about 12 years ago. I came for about a year and a bit. And interestingly, what led me to a life in Australia permanently is because I had a daughter in the UK born at 24 weeks. And she had some quite serious health issues. She spent 6 months in intensive care, in neonatal intensive care, and then came home on oxygen full time and had a long list of health issues, chronic lung disease being one of them. And we decided when she was 1 that a life in Australia would be a lot healthier for her. She'd spent so much time in a hospital, chest infections and so on. The weather doesn't help. The fact that you're never outdoors doesn't help. And we had lived here previously for a brief time, like I said. So it just felt like the right thing to do for our family and for our daughter. And it really was the best decision. As soon as we moved here, I mean, the reduction in hospital visits just went down dramatically. And now she's 8 and she's pretty healthy.
Oh, fantastic. Goodness. I'm actually 24 weeks pregnant this week. So
Oh,
by the time
wow.
I know. Oh, thank
Have
you.
a baby then.
Well, I was about to say I couldn't even imagine, but I'm so happy to hear that she's all well and fine. And how interesting the change of climate that helped with those symptoms.
Yeah, it makes a huge difference. Yeah.
Yeah.
Really just everything. Just like I said, look, being more outdoors anyway, the outdoor lifestyle helps. Being more active. But yeah, definitely the climate, it's a huge help. Yeah.
Yeah, right. So then talk to me. You come to Australia, you're helping your daughter, getting back and getting a life here. What made you think I'd love to own a business here, and what were the first steps that you took?
Well, so I owned my business in the UK prior to moving to Australia, which I still do. And I travel back to the UK every 3 months to treat my patients over there. Obviously, not currently because of COVID, but I have done since I moved here about 6, 7 years ago. What led me to opening my own business here in Australia was actually I really enjoy getting treatments and I really enjoy going to clinics. And I was just researching the market and trying to find somewhere really great for myself. So I went to lots and lots of different places and they all had something amazing about them, but I found for myself, in my personal opinion, they all lacked something. It wasn't quite what I desired. And because I've lived in quite a few different places around the world and I've traveled a lot, I always do use the spa or the local clinic or whatever because I do enjoy it. So I'd had heaps of experience and heaps of research, and I thought there's a gap in the market here. I feel like I can improve on what's here and I can do something that is better and provide a better service. And because I couldn't find it myself, I just thought, well, I'll do it.
Yeah, interesting. I love that. I think it's one thing to want to open a business here in Australia when you're not from here essentially, but it's another to have that confidence because you had your business well, still do back in the UK, but coming here is a whole new landscape. Do you think that this confidence is something that you've always had within you, or have you learnt this along the way?
I've always been pretty confident. And as I mentioned, moving to the UK at 14 without speaking any English was one of those things that I just kind of took my stride and I just did it. And I thought I'll just figure it out. And I think that made me quite resilient as a person, that experience and lots of others. So I feel like try your best. There's nothing to be scared of. What's the worst thing that can happen? But definitely, look, I don't just jump in head first. I do my research, and I do things small. Start really small. Do one thing, and then sort of grow from there. I didn't just come to Australia and open a business. I worked in other places first, and I kind of got a feel for the people and the kind of patients that are here in this particular area, which actually were not that dissimilar to my patients in the UK, and just started small, and it just snowballed, and it grew and it grew and it grew, and to the point that it's just a bit out of control now.
So special. I mean, it's just so incredible what you have built here. It really is a testament, but I really love what you've said there about testing the market, because so many people, that's probably one of the number one questions that I get asked across social media is, I want to open my business. How do I open my business? And I think everybody wants to open a business at some stage or another, but should everybody open a business? Perhaps not. Right. So I think, testing the market and asking your audience, is there even an audience here?
Yeah.
And the business that I'm wanting to create, what does that look like for my audience? How does that serve them? But the thing that just made me sparkle then when you said start small, because you could not have opened the clinic that you have now in 2 seconds. It doesn't happen overnight, and it's that 10-year, 15-year overnight success thing, right? So what did you start with? I mean, was it just yourself at the time when you opened that business and then you grew, or what kind of team did you start?
So I first started working at a local clinic, and I ran my business within that business. So that's what that's the way I've always started. So I had my own patients, my own clients, but I used the center as a referral center. So they refer, patients to me or clients to me. So I started doing that really close to my home in Cottesloe, which is obviously a beautiful suburb here in Perth. And just as my list grew bigger and bigger and word got out that I was working there, it just felt like the right time to just branch out on my own. It was just getting too small and too crowded for me. The arrangement was fine with the clinic. I didn't have any issues with that. But I felt like the clinic itself didn't represent me and who I am and how my services, or even my aesthetic. And the aesthetic in this industry is super, super important. What you put out there visually is it's a representation of you and how you do your work. So I felt like that did not marry up with me and my vision. So once I had enough patients on my list and I was busy enough, I thought, well, do you know what I'll do? I'll just rent this really tiny little, there was a chiropractor who was moving out, or a chiropractor or physio or whatever. He was moving out of his space for a bigger space. And I thought, perfect, it has 2 rooms and a reception. I'm going to take it. I'm going to be on my own. I'm just going to work my days, and I'll see. Just start really small, don't overcommit. Just this really tiny little place. And then one of the dermotherapists I was working with wanted to also leave. And she said to me, didn't know I was leaving, but she just said, one day if you decide to leave, I would really love to come with you. And I thought, oh, that's interesting, because this is what I've been thinking about. So we had a chat, and she said, yep, I'm on board. I'd love to come along. So I thought, okay, perfect. 2 rooms, one for you, one for me, easy done. We'll just get a receptionist and that's it. Well, we opened our doors last year, end of February, beginning of March last year. And within a matter of 6 weeks, we were completely booked out. like totally booked out. I had to get somebody else in. And then within 6 months, we were way over capacity. So I then took on the unit next door and, cut a hole through an archway through one of the walls and made it into double space, and went from there and got more staff. So there's 12 of us now there, and it's great, but just started really small. And I did not expect it to grow this big, this quickly.
Yes.
Yeah,
Well, I wanted to ask you about that, because a lot of people kind of have the hope of, well, I'll open a beautiful clinic and then I'll get clients, but they don't always. But that was the case for you, because 6 weeks fully booked. I mean, so what kind of steps did you take to be able to position yourself in the market, I guess, in the industry, and to position yourself in the client's mind where you had a wait list essentially?
Yeah. So where we are right now, I don't personally take any new patients, and my dermal therapist can't take any more clients either. But we do have other staff who do. So we've had to grow that way. The way that we did it, I suppose we already had a reputation in the area. We both already worked in the area, so we already had a following. So that really helped, and they followed us. And then I think we both had the same idea in mind. I mean, she worked for me. It was my business, but she very much aligned with my views and my values, which are that clients come first, and you're there to help them achieve whatever it is they want to achieve. We look after people, and we're in it for the long run. We're not in it for you come today and next week you go somewhere else. That's not how we work. You come to us and we will look after you, and we'll make sure that you achieve as close to what you want to achieve as possible, with the minimum time and minimum cost. So we take all those things into consideration. We don't treat everybody the same. We don't do all the treatments the same. One thing that was really important for me was that my clinic catered for the clients, not the clients to us, but we catered to them. So every single treatment is different. So if you come for a facial or a bespoke Blanc treatment, we will look at your skin on that day, and then we'll have a chat to you about what you want out of it that day, and we will tailor the treatment to you. So that might mean using a different mask or a different peel, or a peel at the top and a different peel on your cheeks, and anything at more massage, less massage, whatever it is that the girls have to do. I give them free reign to do. We don't just have a protocol that we follow for each patient and it's all the same and you come in and you get the same thing each time, because you're not going to be the same each time, are you? Your needs are not going to be the same each time. So it was really important for me to have that, and to view all our clientele as a long-term nurturing relationship with them.
After the break, Dr. Clara and I talk about the misconception of balancing an empire. But first, a word from today's beauty partner. Community, I know many of you are working on your business at the moment, and perhaps that has involved you thinking about changing software providers and looking at stepping up your marketing game. Well, our friends at Forest Salon Software are offering free setup and migration for a limited time only. This means that you can simply move your software over to Forest for free. And yes, you heard that correctly. Contact the team at Forest today to arrange a free bespoke consultation by clicking the link over in our show notes. Thank you so much to Forest Salon Software for making this episode of the Beauty Industry podcast possible. And now back to Clara. That's what a lot of people in our industry forget, right? And I always talk about this triangle of respect. If you had a triangle that's facing up, your client is at the top. Because if you have no business owner, therapists can still treat the clients. If you have no therapist, well, business owner can find therapists to treat the clients. But if you have no clients, like we've experienced during COVID, if they can't come to your business, well, then you've got no business owner, you've got no therapist to treat, right? So clients have to sit at the top. But I think sometimes we get, a little bit wrapped up in life and in business, and we don't think about the client at the forefront anymore. And, just take a seat, I'll be with you in a moment. But I think, and you mentioned this to me at our beauty brunch in Perth earlier this year, before the world turned upside down, was that you've had clients for, somewhat 15 plus years, which is just absolutely phenomenal to me. I mean, do you think that your, this kind of mentality and values towards facing the client obviously have helped that.
Yeah, I think definitely have. My idea from the very beginning was to have clients for life, have clients for the long term, as I said, and building a friendship with them, I suppose, or a relationship that you get to know them and you are interested in them, and you're interested and you listen when they talk about what they need and what they want, and like I said, what they want to achieve, and then you advise them on what's best for them. Because that's another thing that I find, that patients often come in and they have this idea: I want to have my lips done, and actually they don't need the lips done. You know, they've been through somewhere else and that's what they keep doing, and that's the wrong treatment. You maybe your chin is receded and you don't have a chin, you don't have sufficient projection on the chin, or you have a very flat mid cheek that makes you look tired, but you're just focusing on your lips and you're obsessed with your lips. And it's the wrong treatment. And if you go somewhere else, that's what they'll do your lips because you've requested your lips. And I don't work like that. I will give them my opinion, and if I think that something doesn't need a treatment, I'm not going to do it. If I feel like something else would be a better choice, I'll present it to them. If they want to take it up, that's great. If they don't, that's also great. But I definitely don't just go over and over and over the same thing when, you know, the people just becoming, you know, obsessed with one area and have lost perspective on what isn't sitting right on their face, and they're pinpointing the wrong thing. So that's another thing that we find really important. And equally, when they come in for dermal therapy, they might say, I want to peel, but when we examine the skin, that's not suitable for them. They don't need that. So we give them something else.
It makes a lot of sense, actually. I'm sure you've seen this a lot. It's kind of like that Instagram face these days, because everybody wants the little Tinkerbell nose and everybody wants the big doll lips, you know? And I think everybody is just looking so similar, you know? And that's because, and because people are just listening to what the client wants, and they're not saying, well, exactly as you've just said, okay, how about we look at this area or look at this area? And I'm scared one day we're all going to wake up and go, oh my goodness, we all look like each other. This is so strange.
The motivation has to be right. And I think that this is with any business owner, but especially in our industry, I think you have to be motivated by not the money, not the financial reward, but more taking care of that patient and trying to achieve whatever something that they're going to be happy with. So restoring balance in the face will make somebody feel better about themselves. Doing lips 10 times over, that is not going to make anyone feel better about themselves. It really isn't. And we've got to bear that in mind, that just because somebody requests or wants you to do something, you absolutely do not have to do it. And I think it's our responsibility to advise the patients correctly about what they should and shouldn't have done, and what is appropriate and what isn't appropriate. And unfortunately, there's a lot of people out there who just don't do that. They just don't do that. They keep doing the same bits over and over when it's that patient's not a right candidate for that treatment.
Yeah, absolutely. So tell me, clinic, you go into the next room, you've got huge wait list, not opening your treatment books to anyone else, and then we launch a skincare brand. How did that come out?
Well, that came out, that's interesting. So we did launch during COVID, or we launched just before COVID, and COVID really was a huge help for us, to be honest, because we have a prescription skincare line. It's myself and my partner, Dr. Deb Cohen-Jones, and we've been prescribing it for a couple of years. However, we didn't really launch it into the market until March this year, the week before COVID shut us down. And the way that came about is both myself and Deb have been prescribing this type of skincare for myself for about 15 years since I started, and Deb's definitely for at least 10 years or more. And when I moved, I was prescribing in the UK. And when I moved to Australia, I tried to find ways of continuing to prescribe the same skincare, which was a different brand actually. And it was really complicated, and it didn't make sense. But I knew the results were amazing because I'd used it for so long, and I'd used it on myself. I've been using it myself for many years. And then separate to that, I didn't know Deb. And she was also doing compounded, she was doing prescription skincare, but she was compounding, having her stuff compounded in different pharmacies or sending scripts. So getting really not consistent results, because each pharmacy will compound slightly differently. So our pharmacists, our mutual pharmacists in our local pharmacy, knew that we were both doing the same thing separately. So she said, you know what, I think you should really meet Dr. Deb. You guys really get along, and you're both trying to do the same thing. Why don't you have a coffee and see? And I thought, well, why not? That sounds great. So we met for a coffee that went on for about 2 hours, and we talked and talked and talked and talked, and we were so passionate about it, the both of us. And we both again saw a gap in the market that wasn't being filled by anybody. And we thought, okay, what do we want? We want to deliver amazing skin to our patients, because if you have great skin, everything else is, again, the aesthetic treatments are going to look better. People are happier, they're more confident, and we had seen the results of using prescription grade skincare. But what the problem was in Australia is that, number one, it's not accessible unless you go to a dermatologist or go to a GP, by which point, first of all, you have to pay for the consult, then the product, and so on. So it all adds up. And my type of skincare that I have been prescribing was great, but it was several steps. It's 4 steps in the morning, 4 steps at night. And as my patients always joked, I love it, but I have to go to bed an hour earlier to start putting on my skincare, which nobody wants. We're all trying to detox skincare. We're all trying to just do a single step, go to bed. We're all busy. You're busy. You're a mom. I'm a mom. We working women. I don't have time to layer on 10 creams at night. I just don't, even though I'm passionate about it. Even then, I don't want to do it. So we wanted to come up with a product that you could use just once a day at nighttime, and it was just 1 step. So we compounded all the ingredients into 1 cream. And the problem was that if you do that, the ingredients generally aren't stable. So the challenge for us was to find a formula that was going to be stable with a base that is stable. And so that's what took the longest time to test out and to find the right mix, if you like. So we just started with 1 cream, which is our hero cream, the cellular repair night cream. And then demand just grew for that, and the word got out. This was this great Western Suburbs secret, and so we called it the secret. And then from that, people were asking, okay, well, how about a day cream? This is amazing, I love it, but what do I use in the daytime? And we tried different things, and we recommended different creams, and then we thought, well, no one's making one that's got this and this and this, and that's what we want. So we made a day cream, and then people said, well, that's amazing. How about I want something for my eyes? And again, what are your main issues? So we did our market research. What's your problem? Puffy under eyes, eye bags, and darkness, dark circles. So we created a cream with correct ingredients to depuff and brighten your eyes. And this is how it grew. And we've got 12 products in our range now.
Wow.
We're about to launch another secret product in the next 4 weeks, which is really exciting. And like I said, look, COVID really helped us because people were at home. People couldn't go and get the normal treatments. People were on Zoom all day long looking at their face. And people were at home in the pajamas with no makeup on, looking in the mirror because they had time to look in the mirror. So a lot of people messaged us saying, hey, I've got these issues. I really would like to fix this. What can I do? And because all our that business itself is just all online, we were able to still manufacture the products and ship the products to the patients. And it just grew out of control during COVID. It really helped us, and we dedicated all our time while the clinic was closed. We did heaps of Zooms. We met with every editor. Just put so much time and energy into it that we wouldn't normally have, because normally we'd both be super busy at the clinic.
Yeah, a blessing in disguise. I saw you guys just go absolutely bananas and feature on Beauty Kate and all of these other incredible media channels, and even to your social media platforms speak for themselves. I mean, the results are like, I stopped scrolling with my jaw on the floor going, hang on, no, even I am surprised as a therapist that we can get such results from a product. So I'm sure you must be very proud.
Yeah, we are. All those photographs before and afters, they're actually from patients who send them to us, and they're like, "You will not believe this. Look at my skin. I just wanted to share this with you because you've literally changed my life." We've got heaps of doctors who use it, and a lot of the people on that feature on the before and afters are doctors. We've got one particular lady who's an anaesthetist, who's an amazing woman, and she had been told, like many people, "I'm sorry, you have to live with this melasma condition you've got. It will never go away. There's nothing you can do." And she's a doctor. She's researched every treatment. And she came to us and said, "Look, just, we never promise anything, but we're pretty confident this is going to help." And, you'll see her before and after. It's absolutely amazing. And she said, "It's just changed my life. It's changed my confidence." Of course, we treat acne as well. When you have acne, and I suffered with adult acne, it can be debilitating. It really takes away your confidence, and you end up wearing much more makeup, which you feel uncomfortable in, and it can really get you down. And so I think that's why we get so many before and afters, because it's people who are now feeling so good about themselves, so confident, and then that impacts in every aspect of their lives, their relationships or their jobs or their friendships and social life or whatever it is, and they feel really grateful, and they share those images with us, and that's great, because then that encourages other people to have a look at the product and consider whether it's for them.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, I'm curious to know, clinic, business, mum, how do you balance it all? Do you believe in balance? Is it a real thing? What does normal life look like for you?
Well, all I've got to say is I don't balance it all. I think that's what people perceive. But actually, there's a lot of things that I have to cut out. So I'm not doing it all. I don't. Everyone can only really hold a few balls in the air at one time. So I'm holding my balls and you're holding your balls, but they're different. Do you know what I mean? So things have to give. No one can do it all. Just I do a lot, and it's true. I do my business, and I do spend a lot of time with my kids. They're a priority for me, and I do schedule my work around my kids so that I can always do pick up and the drop off and so on, or mostly do most of them. But there's heaps of things I don't do. Like I can't cook anymore. I just don't have the time. And you know what? I'm really tired when I get home. I don't want to do the cooking. At the moment, I don't exercise because I just don't have the time. And that's one thing that really I want to pick up again. So I'm starting my Pilates back up this Saturday. But I've had to give that up for a while. Something has to give. You cannot do everything. Social life. It might look like I've got this crazy social life, but I've reduced my social life drastically. I can't go to the lunches and the coffees. I just can't do it. I don't have the time. And I love doing that. I'm not stopping because I don't want to do it. I love it. I just focusing more on work. And I think also, it's important when you work within a team, especially a team of women. I think one of the most important things is to lead and to show them leadership by doing the work yourself, and working hard and showing that maybe I own the business, but I still work in the business and I still work as hard as they do. And we all have to do our part. We all play a role. I can't just be off for lunches and coffees and expect my team to do everything for me. It doesn't work like that. Which it did, but it doesn't. But like I said, I'm not doing it all. I'm just doing my priorities.
Yes, absolutely. What's the biggest lesson you've learnt being a business owner?
I guess probably I would say that businesses have ups and downs, and it is a roller coaster, especially not even just at the beginning, just all the time. There's always going to be things that come up. Keep going, persevere. I think that you've also got to consider that not everybody will be your client or your patient or your customer. You've got to find your people. And that is whether it's staff or customers, and find your tribe, find your people. And not everyone's going to love your product, and not everyone's going to love you and what you're offering. They're not your people. You've got to find your people. And I think that that's one great thing about social media these days, that you can really put yourself out there and have almost like a portfolio of your work, whether you're in the beauty industry or in the graphic design industry or whatever it is, it's really helpful. It's been super helpful for me, and my business has really helped me grow, is that I can put on my social media, this is the kind of work I do. I do natural lips, I do nice jawlines, I do natural cheeks and so on. And so people can view my work before they come in. So I know that the majority of people coming through, they're on my wavelength. They get the vision, and we share the same vision. So it's really easy then. It makes your work so much easier, don't you think? So yeah, I just think that the only last thing is just to treat your staff well. Once you've got good staff and you're running a business, just treat them well, and they're all part of a team, and they're just as important as you, and everybody plays their role. And like you said earlier, clients are number one, but the staff are really, really important.
Well, it comes back to being a really mindful and conscious leader, and taking ourself and our ego out of the ring, and looking at the people who we serve, and that's our clients and our therapists.
That's right, yeah. And also just a little bit what you were touching on earlier is talking to your staff and explaining why you're doing X, Y, and Z, rather than dictating things. I don't really dictate. I mean, to me, they're my colleagues. I don't dictate to them, I'm your boss and you're going to do what I say. I say, look, this is the team and this is what we're trying to achieve. What do you guys think about this? How do you think we can, deal with this issue? And we deal with everything together. I never just dictate for no reason and then just get them to do what I want. It doesn't work like that, I want them to feel valued and that they're playing an important role in the business. So explaining, just like you do to your kids, explaining everything and the reason behind why you're doing something is really, really important. And it's helped me personally in my business.
Amazing. Great advice. I want to know, we've got almost 90 days for the rest of the year. I know a lot of people are writing off 2020 and are so eager to get to New Year's Eve to celebrate 2021. But what are you looking forward to for the remainder of the year?
Wow. I guess it's, for us, I know it's had its challenges 2020, but it's not been in Perth. We're in Perth. We're very lucky. I feel like we've been really, really fortunate with the whole COVID situation. And I think we need to feel that way. Of course, it's sad that we can't travel, and I'm feeling it definitely. But we are so fortunate. Yes, our business is closed down for a while, but it's not like, we're not in Melbourne and we're not suffering like other people are in the UK and so on. So I feel like we are very fortunate. We've got a few months left. It is our busiest period of the whole year. So we will all be working extra hard. I'm looking forward to January actually, rather than the next 3 months, because January we get a break. Christmas and so on we close, but January, the first couple of weeks, school holidays, I'll be taking a break. So I'm really looking forward to that. But yeah, from now to Christmas, it's quite busy. There's every weekend's full. There's lots going on. Summer's here, but definitely for us work-wise, it is the busiest time. So we often work late and squeeze in extra days here and there. So yeah, that's pretty much it.
Amazing. Dr. Clara, thank you so much for coming on the podcast and having a chat with me today. Really appreciate your time.
Thank you for having me. It's been a pleasure.
Oh, I just adore so much of what Dr. Clara said today in our conversation about balance, client care, and conscious leadership. And I hope it left you with some thoughts and considerations about the way you and your team, if you have one, show up in your business daily. If you're listening and loving the podcast, please let us know and help spread the word of community by tagging at Dr. Clara Hurst, myself at Tamara Reed Beauty, and of course us at Beauty Industry. Or feel free to subscribe or leave us a review. Until next time, stay connected.